Yo, people, lateness is greatness. Welcome back into the building. You already know what time it is. It's time for the all-you-can-eat Chelsea emergency episode, right? Emergency. And it's funny because we already recorded earlier with another special guest. That will come out tomorrow because the Lukaku news has taken over. And this just happened randomly out of nowhere tonight. And I thought to myself, no better way to do this episode with not just the tried and tested trio, but also a special guest in Monstar. So we got the famous four. The famous four. We're not pissing about today because this is a proper conversation. And for this conversation, I need every perspective. And it is live. It's not pre-recorded. So yeah, bless up, big up the chat. We need to have this convo because it's something that's happened countless times at Chelsea. So it's something that we can relate to the past as well. And obviously set precedent going forward. But I think it's very interesting that obviously the timing, which we spoke about backstage, which we'll get into, on top of that as well, the fact that it's a player that is renowned for being transparent. He's done a podcast, you know, he's very experienced. He's obviously a top player. There's a lot going on there. The form of the team is tits up. And breaking news, Reece James is out for 3 months. So maybe we should start with that. We've now got no wing backs against Liverpool. Alonso is obviously a wing back, but he's not the quickest for Mohamed Salah. He's not got the worst record against Mohamed Salah, actually. He played against early in the season at Anfield, played at Stamford Bridge under Lampard. Tomori covered him a bit as well. But Miz, start with you. Initial reaction, Reece James, 3 months before we get into Lukaku. What are we going to do, bro, about that?
Devastated, bro. I heard this news yesterday, yesterday my time, earlier on UK time when I was doing the stream. And it felt that he was going to be gone for a while. Like, even though some of the earlier news when the injury happened that, oh no, he's going to be back after 2-3 weeks, one no. Hamstring we saw with Kovacic, it took him nearly 2 months to come back. So I'm not surprised that this is 3 months because apparently he's absolutely ripped it. This was the news that came out. So I'm devastated. There's no Chilwell. There's no Reece James. We've now lost the goal production. Like, this whole system that Thomas Tuchel has, we need to understand as a fan base, is so conducive to the wingbacks. This is why this season we looked flying with Chilwell and Reece James. And it's not a coincidence that these players were banging in goals and producing assists, because the system is very much conducive for those two players to do well. They are the trump card for the whole system. Now you take away those players, the system is compromised now. It is absolutely compromised. You cannot run the same system with Alonso and Azpilicueta. You simply cannot do that. We tried Saul. It did not work either. You need high caliber. This is why, as a fan base, do we now understand why Thomas Tuchel was asking for wing backs? And this is what we were talking about, Matisse. You're going to drop the show tomorrow, earlier on when we did the All You Can Eat Chelsea. We as a fan base need to ask serious question of the board as to what is your thinking process when you go to the market? Do you just look at the biggest hype, the biggest vibe, and get that player, regardless of thought process that's gone? Thomas Tuchel wanted wing back, and you gave the brother Saul.
R.I.P. man.
Man's speechless. I mean, Monstar, I'm going to keep things swiftly moving on because we're going to talk about the wing backs more later on in the show. We know what the situation is there. We know what January is. Whether Chelsea apparently asked Leon to try and bring back Emerson. Leon rejected. That, for me, was the moment today where I realized we're not really serious about the rest of the season. No. We tried to bring back Emerson on loan to make it 3 left wing backs at the club in the summer and take away that option to buy for Leon we're hopefully they're working on. So we're going to just move and pivot from that before I lose my temper. But this super chat here, I heard you speaking on the space. You kind of just absolutely dragged Chelsea fans that are moving mad by the throat and just threw them to the ground. So I'm guessing a super chat like this from Jack, who says Lukaku should sod off back to Italy if he does not want to play for the club. I mean, what's your perspective on this Lukaku situation?
Listen, there's two things with this. What do you call it? This situation is the Italian media or Sky Sports. It's Italy. They knew the perfect time to drop this article because they knew, okay. And if Chelsea didn't draw against Brighton, this would have still been in the banks, and they would have waited until Chelsea lost and Chelsea fans were in a meltdown to drop this. This has been with them for about 3 weeks to a month. Lukaku never said, if you read it properly, don't read what you saw on Sky Sports. Get someone who's Italian that has nothing to do with football. Get them to interpret that article or that video, and you will hear exactly what needs to be heard. Lukaku never said he doesn't want to be at Chelsea, doesn't love Chelsea, he wants to go back to Italy, blah, 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 blah. I'll take you lot back to the summer. He put on his Instagram story, I am going to explain to the Inter Milan fans, I'm sorry, I left this way, blah, blah, blah. He put this in his Instagram story. This is what we're seeing right now. Lukaku basically said, when they asked him about him coming back to Italy to play for Inter Milan, he didn't say he wants to come back in his prime. No, he basically said, when I want to come back and hopefully be able to still be at a high enough level to play for you guys. That's what he said. They have misinterpreted it, or they did it on purpose to make it seem like he said in his prime. And obviously we know he's 29 years old. So they have twisted things. If you think I'm lying, like I said, you can go do the research yourself and go and you will understand what I'm talking about. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? This is a guy that pushed for this move. He pushed for this move. He wanted this move. He's wanted it for so many years. Do you think he's just going to come here and be like, oh, no, I want to get out of Chelsea after a couple of months? No. And the situation when he's talking about as a system, yeah, if we're being honest, Matisse, how many times have you heard me speaking about the system and not getting the best out of our attackers?
A lot of times you've said that, yeah.
A lot. I've been talking about this for months. Look, he is just telling us what we already know. It's not a shot at Tuchel. When you read it, go and get someone to translate it. There was no shot at Tuchel. Matt Law even said to you, Matt Law is Chelsea's number one source. There's no other source above Matt Law when it comes to Chelsea. He said they have spoken. There's no issues between Tuchel and Chelsea. They are stirring the pot. This is what journalists do. This is what they do. They're stirring the pot. These people are smart. Look at when they dropped it. They've had this for weeks. Look at when they dropped it. When he did this interview, there weren't that many problems as there is now. Look at when you just got to use your brain. I can't even. It's up to you. Do what you want to do. Believe what you want to believe. Lukaku, if he starts scoring in a few weeks, you will all forget about it. We've been here before. Drogba did the exact same thing. Hazard was twerking for Real Madrid, but continually playing. We didn't care until they left. We've been here before. This has been happening. It's nothing new.
Let me read out the super chat as well, and I get Younes's opinion. Perry says, I feel Lukaku definitely did this interview to save his career. Tuchel has been favouring the German boys. But his comments are unforgivable. I mean, Younes, what was your initial reaction? Because for me, as much as I agree with some of what Monstar's saying, I do feel like Lukaku kind of contradicted what he said when he first came to the club, which is, this is where I'm trying to retire. This is my, final destination. I am here to do certain unfinished business. And for me, I don't even want you to be thinking of that next move. You've got business to do here. You have unfinished business, as you've said. We can't have Man United fans calling you Timberland boots and all that. You have yet to win a Premier League title in this country. You've got to get the business done here. I know the apology of Inter Milan fans, but again, he's 28 years old. He's very experienced and he knows the media well. So as much as Monstar's saying, talking about twisting words, he knows this because he's been with the media before. I just didn't expect him to be this transparent. We can all be transparent, but we probably wouldn't have jobs. Like, you've got to have some sort of know-how, how to navigate the media. And if you're young at Everton and you're making that mistake, cool. But 28 years of age, big man, you shouldn't be making those errors, in my opinion. And I mean, Younes, go for it, bro.
Fully agree. Especially the fact that he had that issue at Man United in terms of comments and interviews and, spinning and all of that. Now, I get completely what Monstar said about the spin about the timing of the drop. That is calculated, 100% calculated. Especially now the fact that Chelsea have been on a bit of bad form. Liverpool coming up, City coming up, Spurs coming up, injuries. It's a great opportunity, and we know the media always look at a point when it comes to Chelsea because they know that there's always pressure at the club in terms of the manager's position. 100% happens all the time. We are always number one when it comes to that. My issue is, as much as Sky, whoever, want to try and capitalize on the situation and wait to drop a certain article or certain interview because it was filmed apparently, and that entire interview will be released soon. So we will be able to translate this word for word, the whole way through. It was Fabrizio Romano who unleashed what was said. Now, he's Italian. It's his first language. It would be a bit stupid of him to come out and to come and spin it when he knows exactly what's been said because he works for the corporation that has done the flipping interview. If he is intentionally spun it, right, and misinterpreted it from a language that is his mother tongue, knowing that he's going to get caught out, that's career suicide. I don't know how that could be done.
Younes, Fabrizio has actually come out publicly and said, I have not misinterpreted a single thing. He's actually gone around. Yeah, he's gone around replying to people's tweet. I am not misrepresented any information. He's saying that. Thing.
I mean, is it though? Because I can bring out situations where Fabrizio has said something and said it with his chest. This is not going to happen. And in fact, we can continue on the Lukaku situation. In the summer, where I did many videos, Fabrizio said, Lukaku's not going, he's staying 1,000%. Remember? Do you remember how many videos you did?
Yeah, we all thought that.
Do you remember that? Do you remember how many times he said that? What happened? Yeah. Lukaku ended up at Chelsea. Listen, this is the only... I'm going to just tell you what.
Monstar, someone I knew different issues. One's a transfer speculation and one's a man's words coming out of his mouth. Yeah. You can get transfer speculations wrong, but to get someone's mouthpiece wrong, Fabrizio is really, really in a bad situation if he's lying here. This is not about a transfer.
Really
Do you know
bad,
what I mean?
Yeah. The thing is with Lukaku, I just want to say for Lukaku, it's to be honest, personally, I don't have a problem if a player comes out and talks about his ex-club and goes, I had a great time over there, fans are wonderful, it was lush and all of that. But for someone, as Matisse has said, that's come in 4 months, is meant to hit the ground running, looking to hit the ground running. We paid 97.5 million on this guy, and he's entertaining a return to Inter Milan soon enough, in the way, and again, this is going to come to the translation, but the way that it was portrayed was that he's saying, definitely not, I'm not going to look to come at the end of my career when I'm finished, but I want to show up when I'm still being able to contribute to trophies. Now, he's 28, 29 years old. Yeah. We spent 97.5 million because we were under the perspective that he was going to end his career with us. Right, or at least get to an age where he's finishing here. He's finished, exactly. Yeah. Not to go elsewhere and use us as a stopgap. This is why we didn't want Erling Haaland, because we knew he was going to be a stopgap. You remember Erling Haaland? Oh yeah, he'll come to Chelsea a few years. He'll go off to Real Madrid. We knew he wasn't going to get that Lukaku. Well, now we might. And if Inter Milan hear this, you think they're going to come in the summer and try and get a quick deal?
Can we be? This is where Chelsea fans are not being realistic. Can we be real and ask ourselves, is any player coming to Chelsea to retire? Any player? Has any player come to Chelsea and retired?
Well,
look at all the legends.
It depends. It depends because
I'm not saying
retired. If you're gonna do the whole I wanted to be here from I was young, Didier Drogba is my hero, if you want to do all that, then yes, I probably will expect you to be at least having the ambition to retire. Azpilicueta has the ambition to retire, but we're the ones that have decided it looks like potentially that he's going to move on. Drogba, the same, Lampard, the same. These guys left when they were finished. So they wanted to retire here, but unfortunately Ivanovic, their level was no longer high enough, which is what I expected from Lukaku. I expected him to want to stay here until his level was no longer good enough to then move on. Not to be maybe preserving himself for another move, because you don't pay 100 million for a 28-year-old for this not to be your last move, especially with probably the wages he's on.
Absolutely.
Okay, look at the context. You got to look at the context of it. They've asked him a question in regards to him going back to Inter Milan at some point in his career, right? But being real, no one really retires at Chelsea. Everyone leaves. Let's be honest here. That's like if you think you're coming to Chelsea and you're leaving, I mean you're retiring here, you are bloody lying to yourself. No one retires here. Everyone ends up leaving at some point. Now, this is what my guy sent me and asked me. He said, bro, he didn't even say at my best in regards to what the interpretation said at my best, innit? He said at a high level. So he's hoping he can still come back to Inter Milan at a high level. And my guy said they've definitely twisted it in terms of the words he's using. Now, I don't know if my guy's lying, but I just don't see why my guy, who's not a football guy, would lie to me. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of that. So with that being said, you got to take into consideration the question that was asked. Like the question that was asked. Most players that have come from a team that they loved and adored, because Inter Milan did a lot for Lukaku. Let's not
100%.
They took him out of the dumps. Do you know what I mean? Of course, if you're going to ask him, he's going to be like, yeah, hopefully one day I can go back and, I'm at a good level and I can still play for them, because you're not really going to play for them when you're dumb and dusted, are you? Like, not going to be. So we have to take these things into consideration. You have to take context into it. And hopefully you guys will go and get someone to interpret it. I could be wrong because I don't even speak Italian. I could be wrong. I know Fabrizio obviously has a reputation on the line. By the end of the day, I trust my guy. I'm sorry, because my guy will have no reason to lie to me. You know what I mean? This is someone I know. Yeah.
But can we set a precedent as well that this is not good? This is not a good thing that's happened. Like, regardless of whether Lukaku's leaving or he's staying or whatever, I'm not saying sell him. My video initially, because I wanted to make it with my raw, authentic opinions, and then I do this show afterwards where I discuss it and level out and calm down, like any normal fan. But I think, regardless of what happens with Lukaku, and I'm sure, he'll again, if he scores some goals, I think you're absolutely spot on, Monstar. People won't be talking about this, but I don't like the precedent it sets, and I don't think these massive, transparent Oprah Winfrey interviews are a good idea for footballers. This should have been kept inside the house. You speak about this inside the house, it's probably resolved by now. Keep it inside the house. Lukaku is not a podcaster. He's not here to tell us about his life. He's not Logan Paul. Keep some information to yourself, big man. We don't need to know all of this. We actually don't. And my biggest issue is the environment that we as a club every year create for ourselves. We have the same shit with Rudiger last year and we have it now this year. And it's always mid-season. We create a toxic environment and everybody contributes to it. Fans, players talking, whatever behaviors, whatnot, because whether people like it or not, for me, the Rudiger shit, most of it was true. Matt Law, if we want to believe Matt Law doesn't lie. So he doesn't write a report like that and not get banned from the club unless he's telling some truths. But again, Rudiger drops performances, much like Lukaku. Hopefully we move on. But you don't see this shit at Man City.
3 weeks ago. This is he was still injured when this interview was done. And he's been dropping good performances.
He has, and hopefully it continues. But my point is that this is not a good environment, bro.
The way the way I look at it with the fans, and I said this same thing prior when Lampard was sacked, and everyone was going out because of the article that came out about Cover, Rudiger, and I can't remember who the players were. Said at the time, whether it's true or not, you just have to take it, and we have to, prop these, hype these players up and get them so we can get the best out of them. Create an environment where these players can play well and not have these things on their mind that the fans are abusing them or booing them. If you want these players to get, because Lukaku's here for a couple of years or whatever, however, you're not getting rid of him anytime soon. But you idiots that are saying, oh, sell him. There's no one going, Chelsea are going to want to profit on him, even if they wanted to sell him. There's no one buying him if we're being realistic. So he's going to be here. So if you're going to the stadium and booing him, boo, and blah, 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 what kind of environment are you creating for your players to perform to the highest of level? Do you know what I mean? Yes, he did wrong. And yes, he himself needs to come out and apologize for this as well. I'm not excusing him for it. At the same time, you lot that are sending the racist abuse and blah, 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 you need to be careful, bruv. Remember, you need to realize what you want for this club. Because at the end of the day, this is what's best for the club. I don't care about me personally. I don't care about any players in person. I just want what's best for Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? So you need to be very, very careful about how you act in this situation. And I'm talking to you young fans out there, you lot on social media, because you lot love to misbehave. It's really time to behave yourself on a real. But go on.
Here's the thing, right? The racial slurs that Lukaku's getting right now, that is wrong, outright wrong. There's no way, none of us would ever agree that that's on. My issue is, and I completely get what you're saying, Monstar, in regards to a lot of the things maybe was misinterpreted. But one thing that's very clear across all the different interpretations that I've seen is that he did question that Tuchel changed his module. I think this is what Matisse is saying. You don't need to be so transparent, my man. Matisse has worked previously. Monstar, I'm pretty sure you work in as well. Younes works. None of us ever can sit here and say, oh, I love my manager so much. We've all got things to say about my manager. I'm meant to be at work at the moment. I've got a lot of things to say about my manager. But I'm never going to sit down with someone, openly tell them exactly how I feel about them, knowing this is going to be public and everyone's going to hear it. That's a bad look on you. I need the fan base to understand no player is bigger than the club, and we need to start putting Thomas Tuchel as the center point, number one. If Lukaku gets sold tomorrow, I do not care. You don't have that authority to talk about your boss like that. You don't have that authority. Do you understand? Just because you get paid highly in Chelsea Football Club, that doesn't give you the right to go and talk about Thomas Tuchel that he changed his module. He can change his module as much as he wants. You better pattern up. You better pattern up.
Reply to that?
He's dropped it.
Can I reply to that? Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Let me just quickly finish. If my manager comes up to me and tells me, Miz, this is the task you need to do today, I better do that.
It's the lack of hierarchy at this football club that we don't have a pyramid, and this
like
is
that in media.
We don't have a pyramid. We really don't, and it's not even funny. We don't have a pyramid of high command and then second in command and third. We have this flexible pyramid where everyone can just say whatever the fuck they want, and then whatever happens. And you don't see this shit at Man City. This is the environment that I'm talking about. At Man City, Pep is in charge. You do what Pep asks you to do. Yes, 100%. There's probably conversations behind closed doors of where Tuchel can improve. I didn't like the fact that Tuchel played Pulisic as this Olivier Giroud target man back to goal against Everton and Wolves. I thought it was silly, and he needed to fix that in the second half, but he didn't. We didn't win the game. But at the end of the day, you can't be publicly undermining the tactics, in my opinion, in the system, because that is the pillar, and the rest of the players are there, and that sets by a president. And this is what I'm talking about, setting precedent. You have to keep that behind closed doors. You have to.
Okay. Again, this is down to interpretation. Again, from what I've been told, or from the interpretation I've received, it didn't look like Lukaku again criticized Thomas Tuchel or said anything negative about Thomas Tuchel. It looked like they were asking him about his why is he, or why are they not getting the best out, or why is he not necessarily playing to the standard we've seen of him, and he's letting them know that I'm not necessarily being used the best way. And he's also this is not the first time he said this. He said this a few weeks back when he was with Belgium. Do you remember when he was talking about him being used as a target man or something like that? It's not the first time. He is not saying, he's not criticizing Tuchel. I think you guys are, once again, we're just going off on a whim and we're being a bit reactionary. You have to go and read it. You have to go and read it and just go read it, innit? Do you know what I mean? I don't like people. There's people criticizing me in the chat. Let me tell you now, I generally don't give a fuck what you say. So you can say what you want to say and whatever. Go and read it and you will understand. Otherwise, we're going to keep screaming and blah, blah. I don't personally think there's an issue between Tuchel and Lukaku, and you will see it because these past few games has pretty much shown it. Like we said, this interview's from weeks ago. I'm pretty sure Tuchel would have probably seen it already.
I agree with you there, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I don't think there's an issue between Tuchel and Lukaku.
I don't think there's an issue, but I'm just saying it's not wise for players to be doing that. And we can't just make the exception because Lukaku's a top player that he can talk about this openly, publicly. Because if you're saying Lukaku can do this, then every player can do this. And if every player was to say,
this is the thing.
If every player was to say what they feel like the system should be catering to them, well, then how would we go anywhere? The system, at the end of the day, is not yes, Lukaku. We need to get the best out of him for the system because he's a top player and we want him to do well. But it's a team. It's not about Lukaku. It's about the team. Yeah. It's always going to be about the team.
At the same time, like, why the problem is that for weeks and weeks and weeks we've been complaining that the system doesn't necessarily
I haven't been saying that
suit our attackers.
I haven't been saying that.
I've never said that.
No,
I've never said
that. A lot of people have been saying this system doesn't necessarily suit our attackers or whatever. But we're kind of seeing a player saying the same thing that we've been saying for a minute. Because if we're being honest, it's true. If you don't have to listen, you don't have to take my word for it. Every game that goes by, it continues to show itself more and more and more. I'm kind of happy. I'm sorry. I'm happy Lukaku came out and spoke a little, because forever I've been asking for. I just want to hear a little bit of transparency. Yeah, people will say, "Oh, it's not." Listen, I come from somewhere where keeping it real is what all we know. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I don't care. Like people say, "Oh, he shouldn't be coming out and blah blah. He needs to keep this." I don't care.
Do you not keep it real behind closed doors, though? What's the
thing exactly?
Keeping it real outside.
Listen.
That's the main thing.
I got sacked. I had a brilliant job at Amazon. I got sacked because I did something similar to what Lukaku did. You know what I mean? I just don't care like that. Do you know what I mean? I think
Maverick, bro.
I just want to clarify. I don't mind. I love that he's keeping it real. I just think you don't. There's many real conversations that happen behind closed doors. I just don't think it needs to be public. That's my thing, because we know the media are going to run with it. We know Sky Sports is going to be talking about it. We know they're going to ask Tuchel about it in the press conference. This disturbs the team. And I'm sorry, this affects preparation for Liverpool. Whether we like it or not, it does. And we don't need this. So it's not just about the fans, because the fans don't play the game. The fans are not on the pitch. The fans are not asking Tuchel questions directly, but the media are. So whether we like it or not, the media are influential, and you don't spoon feed the media. You don't do it. You literally don't do it.
Yeah, you are. Listen, you're right. Do you know what I mean? You're listen, at the end of the day, they should have probably done this they should have done this better, if we're being honest. Do you know what I mean? They should have done this way better. I don't know if this is from Rock Nation or from who it's from. Do you know what I mean? But it probably was Rock Nation. They should have handled this way better. But the way I'm just looking at it as it's out now, we're here now, we just got to find a way to look forward. I personally don't think it could affect the Liverpool situation, but I think one of the main reasons why it's probably going to affect is because of obviously the reaction from the fan base. I think Tuchel probably knew about this, or he has known about this anyway before it even came out. Do you know what I mean? So
this whole thing started just after the Man United game. Apparently that's when this interview was done. Right.
Yeah.
And since that point, we know that Lukaku has spoken with Thomas Tuchel, right? And whether they've sorted what they've sorted. The issue is, before talking to Thomas Tuchel about this and resolving it, he was speaking to Sky. And he done it in a manner in the way that he did. And that's the issue. We're talking about the media are spinning and they're going to take this, and that we know that's what the media do, and we know especially that's what Sky Sports do. Why give them the fuel? Why add oil onto the fire here? That's the issue. Has it not maybe occurred? Lukaku knows better. Lukaku knows better. Do you know what I mean? The fact that he had this issue at Man United in terms of interviews, speculation, all of that, and he didn't help himself. That's experience, as Matisse said. He's 29. He should know better. You got to word it better. I understand about keeping it real. Keeping it real is a good thing, but you keep it real behind closed doors, as far as I'm concerned, because the media are going to take it and run with it. If you misquote something unintentionally, the media will make it look like you've done it fully on purpose, and that's on you sometimes. And that's why footballers are media trained, because football clubs know that can happen and they want to avoid it. Lukaku should know better. Go to Thomas Tuchel, be real behind closed doors at Cobham, yell at each other, do what you got to do, but in front of the press, nah. Watch your words carefully. You got to watch it, because this happens.
Ken Berry feels that he'll go maybe 35, 36. I'm not sure if Lukaku will still be able to perform at a high level at that age, because his game is a bit reliant on some pace as well. I don't know if he's that kind of striker who will flourish at the latter stages of his career, but it's an interesting take. I just want to get through some of the super chats. I don't want to lose them. And then obviously Monstar just carry on there. Freddie said, Italian is Fabrizio's mother tongue, but not Romero's. Maybe Romero didn't articulate himself perfectly what he meant. I'm not sure, but it's an interesting perspective to bring to the table. I'm pretty sure he's fluent in a lot of languages, so I'd be surprised if he didn't say it how he meant, but especially in such a high-profile interview where he knows it's going to be a big thing as well. This super chat says, you don't talk about other clubs when you're with Chelsea. That's just disrespectful to the club and the fans. End of discussion. And I do kind of agree with that. And it's the kind of logic I would have used for Courtois with the Real Madrid and Hazard. So I don't want to change. And again, it's the same logic people slam Sarri for with the whole Napoli dedication shit.
Yeah.
And Diego Costa, China. Like, we have to be consistent here, or we're just gonna, because I'm saying this right now. I'm sorry if a meaty player said this, or someone that we didn't invest 100 million in, or some player we didn't really rate, like maybe.
If Alonso said this, he'd be
I'm
killed.
sorry. There ain't nobody
said this
with no. There ain't nobody coming with no careful analysis on Alonso's quotes. I'm sorry, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And I've read the quotes, and I'm not saying that Lukaku, I'm not saying sell him. I'm not saying that kick him out the squad. I'm just saying I expect better from a 28-year-old, a very intelligent, good speaker who's been about the block. If this was a young 21-year-old, I'd expect the L. But you have to be smarter than this. That's all I'm saying, and it's not good precedent to set for the rest of the squad. It's not something I want to see again. And it's not something, one time, cool, we'll let it slide. But you don't want to see this again, for me, in my opinion. It's not a good idea. Ibsy says criticizing Tuchel's system was out of order. Especially when I personally feel as well, the system is predicated on a lot of individuals. And yes, we want Lukaku to be better. And yes, maybe a back four in the future, maybe next season would be better. Maybe all of these defenders leaving at the same time is a blessing in disguise. We don't buy as many defenders and we switch to a back four, and then we can change the system. But again, if you speak to Tuchel privately, I'm sure he's going to explain to you why he's playing this formation. He's not playing this formation on purpose to hamper attackers. I've said it so many times. The defenders and the midfielders are also part of this.
Matisse, why does everyone really think this is a criticism of Tuchel? Why did people not think that? They're asking you, why are you not getting the best out of yourself? And you're saying, unfortunately, I'm trying, because he kept saying, I would give my best, but I'm not really playing, my rightful way, or say a right. He didn't say position, but he was basically alluding to he's not necessarily playing his rightful way. But why do people take that as he is digging at Tuchel? Like, why? Why do you not think that?
Well, according to the translation, was exactly what Miz said in terms of what was it?
He's changed his module.
Apparently that was the direct translation. This is the issue. You can't bring into disrepute what the manager's doing publicly. You know what I mean? Or even entertain it. Like, leave Tuchel out. If the press are talking to you, leave Tuchel out.
He never mentioned Tuchel's name, by the way.
I know, but if you're talking about system, 1 + 1 is 2.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, but at the same time, like if a player is like, say, let's just use positions here, because it's not really a position thing. It's more of the way we're using Lukaku. So if a player is playing in midfield, who's a striker or whatever, he goes into an interview and they say, "Oh, why are you not, getting the best out of yourself?" The player can easily say, "I can't really be at my absolute, optimum best because I'm a striker, but I'm playing in midfield." I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think he's digging at the manager necessarily. Like, it's just
Monstar, whatever happened to the situation of saying, "Stay patient, I will get better. Relax, relax."
And keep it so early in your career.
Why the need to say, "I'm not being played in my position"? Yeah, like now.
You need that in-house. Leave that in-house.
Look how many players.
You need to look at the way he put it. Like, look at the way he put it. I genuinely don't think he meant it in that way. I just think people have taken it in that way. I genuinely don't. Like, this guy, people are thinking I'm his PR. I don't even listen. For you lot are saying you're his PR. I don't even know the brother. Do you know what I mean? But I'm giving an objective perspective because everyone's going with one straight angle.
Yeah, that's why I really wanted you on, because I'm enjoying the conversation. It's making me calm down.
I'm giving an objective perspective. I genuinely don't think he meant it in that way. I just think he, just saying, they asked him a question, so he just answered like, I'm not really getting the best out of myself because I'm not really necessarily, being, necessarily playing in the best position or whatever. That could get the best out of me. Maybe, if things will change, I'll continue, to play the best anyway and try harder and harder and keep working and keep being professional. That's all it is. That's what he basically said. I think people are just taking it way out. Like, oh, he's bashing Tuchel. Bro, I genuinely don't think that's what it is. Like,
yeah, but Monstar, you can understand why people are thinking like this, right? Like, he put himself in this situation. For him being so honest and so transparent, as Matisse said, there's a place to be transparent. There's a place to be honest. That was not. I can never
judge a man. Personally, I can never judge a man for being honest. Me personally, I know how other people feel, and everyone's going to feel their way. It's okay. We're all allowed to have different thoughts or different ways and things like that. For me, I'll never judge a man for being honest. Personally,
I do like honesty. I get where you're going with that, but I do love a little bit of know-how and a little bit of street smarts. I do like that too, and I think you blend the both. Like you definitely blend the both. And this wasn't it wasn't street smart in my opinion. And I think especially when you've got other players that are sacrificing themselves, playing out of position. We spoke about Callum playing wing back, Pulisic wing back. Like it's not like you're the only one. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of players playing out of position, and I think we need to give it more time because he has been first of all injured, then he had a case for COVID as well. So it's not even like he's been consistently fit for us to adapt and acclimatize to him and all these things as well. So that's why I've personally always said publicly on YouTube, don't count Lukaku out. Don't think that it's over. Don't think that we need to replace him. And for the people that are bringing up Erling Haaland, for me, I don't get that because this guy's agent Raiola would have been cooking from October. He would have been cooking way early.
They don't know what they're in for.
So, like, let's not do this thing where we should have got Erling Haaland now because Lukaku, like, unfortunately, modern football, this is the way. There's a lot of players that talk out, you know, not even say out of turn, but just they talk up. I personally, in terms of an environment, I think this is something that Chelsea, there's been a pattern of it year in, year out, and it's not healthy and it's not sustainable for a good environment or ecosystem to be successful. And I think Man City have proven that. I think they really have. They've shown that if you keep yourself, you know, in some sort of bubble, COVID-wise, literally, and also, you know, just in terms of private conversation, there's no real outbreaks of conversation coming out of Man City. There's no real, you know, convo. There's no real drama. And I think Chelsea fans, we are addicted to drama. And we're almost used to
expect it.
We expect it, and it's not normal. This is honestly not normal. This is not like Chelsea Football Club is not a podcast. It's not normal.
Matisse, look at what Pep Guardiola did recently with Foden and Grealish. They broke the protocols. They went to a club, and Pep straight away sacked him for the next 2 games.
Dropped. Yep.
There is a hierarchy here. You need to respect that. It seems like in Chelsea Football Club, let's be honest, they don't seem to respect the gaffer. Whether it be Frank Lampard, whether it be Sarri, because I remember Gary Cahill.
I don't think they respected Lampard. I do think they respect Tuchel. I think it's impossible not to respect Tuchel.
You know what's mad as well? The reason why I'm coming from this angle as well, and you know, people continue, you know, they'll bash me as well. But when I'm looking at when this interview was done, and I'm looking at how he went through COVID, he went through injuries. And he came straight back and has been performing since.
Yeah,
I don't have any doubt in my mind that he doesn't rate Tuchel. He doesn't want to give this towards Tuchel. Or his performances aren't telling me that. Normally, performances will tell me where a player is at. But these performances have come after he said what he said.
But it's now public, so
it's only just been made public now. So his performances aren't telling me that this guy. Like if it was exactly how it was put in the article or whatever, he wouldn't be performing the way he's performing right now. I'm sorry, he would have. The way it's being put, like he doesn't want to be here. He wants to go back to Inter Milan. He doesn't like Tuchel or blah blah blah. His performances aren't telling me that. That's why I think something somewhere has been blown way out of proportion. And obviously, we know how the media is. They'll put things a certain way for clicks. We know how the game is, isn't it? So until then, maybe when he starts to drop, then fair enough. But for now, the guy's performing and he's trying. He's even running more than he ever is. Like the last game, did you see how
brilliant last game? He was brilliant.
To be fair, I think there's been a little bit of a shift in terms of the last couple of games where you can see he's dropping deeper. There's more link up. He's been able to run in behind. There's more spaces. It does seem like there's been some sort of adjustment in terms of a system in the way of how we use Lukaku. And that's been a conversation that we've had for ages in terms of how the hell do we get the best out of this guy. So 100%. The thing is, my only thing, his intention, as Monstar has said, might actually just be the fact that, you know, he didn't mean anything bad. But you know, when you have that spotlight, you are a £97.5 million signing. You just have to be careful with the way that you say things publicly. You have to be careful because this is what happens. Now, it's not even a case of something's been completely spun. The entire fan base, normally what happens, everyone makes a big drama and then the fan base of that one club come out and back their guy. Happens more times than not. But with this, you see a significant portion of Chelsea fans now losing their minds. And this is going to probably set a precedent for the Liverpool game, you know, where they come to the bridge and there's going to be some sort of hostile reception. Perhaps, maybe. I hope not. But the thing is that at that level, you just need to know what you say publicly. You got a problem with the system. You got a problem with the way you're being used. You got to deal with it internally, face to face with your gaffer. And that's it. Sir Alex Ferguson made it clear back in his day, right? Whatever's in the dressing room stays in the dressing room. Yap Stam made one comment in a book publicly. Boom. Flight, Roma, not Roma, Lazio. Got to get on a flight. He showed up for training. Didn't even know he was sold. You're on a flight to Lazio. See you later. You're gone. And that's the discipline that's needed at a football club. It's as simple as that. Lukaku and all of them need to be careful of what you say publicly because they are wolves. They are bloodhounds. They will take what they need and they'll use it against you. Simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Is Lukaku not a bit surprised in this situation? An interview that he did 3 weeks ago is coming out now in this manner. I would love to see if Lukaku even makes a public comment to say, you know, I want to know his thought process. How do you feel about the interview?
Yeah, that reaction.
How do you feel?
Especially because Sky Italia are not your friends; they're a company. Do you know what I mean? If you do these interviews with the club, and I don't know if the club would ever do an interview like this, but you know it's going to be in your best interest. You're going to be looked after. Sky Italia are not here to look after you. They're going to put it in whenever it suits them, isn't it? And that's where the naivety is for me. But I want to get onto some of the details of what he spoke about in terms of attackers and move it on to the conversation of this system not getting the best out of the attackers, because this is where a lot of us disagree, and I'm looking forward to it because I think my mindset on the formation will change for next season, but I know this season we can't change formation in my opinion. But next season, especially now that I know Christensen might be running out of contract, now that I know Christensen might be leaving as well, I just don't actually believe we'll get as many centre-backs to replace the centre-backs that are leaving with Aspie, Rudiger, Christensen in terms of quality. So then you might be able to change things. But I think this season is still way too soon. But Euro says saying we are not getting the best from our attackers is false. These players lack composure in front of goal. It's the same under Lampard. Miz is right. Appreciate that one, bro. Emmanuel says Lukaku is out of order. I was so happy he came. Now I'm thinking he is a club signing and not a TT. And Chelsea again force another player on a manager. Which is an interesting one. Ober1 says Lukaku has been doing a lot of media for the club since he returned, being more open and got too comfortable. The Tuchel criticism was out of bounds. He is very open. I remember the first week he signed, he had a whole PR, it was mad. Yeah. It was actually nuts. So he is one of the front runners for that kind of stuff.
Entire vlog on him as well. He did turn into Logan Paul.
Stefano says, and I enjoyed it, but that was all positive. I'm not enjoying the negative side, but that's the pros and cons to someone that speaks out. I guess if was CR7 Tuchel was out in 1 minute, it's an interesting one. I'm guessing he's saying if the player was, because we do have to talk about, and I want to get your take on this from everyone as well. Managers and player power, and before we get to the systems, how do we, as Chelsea Football Club, how do we protect, if you believe Tuchel should be the long-term manager of this football club for the next 3-4 years, like a Pep, like a Klopp, how do we actually keep this man in the job and protect his importance as a manager and not let it get undermined? Just in general, forget Lukaku. Just as a president going forward, how do we do that? Or are we just not capable of doing that with Roman in charge?
I don't think we're capable of doing that, to be honest. But if we're just saying if you want to, the ways we can do it, simply back him. But I do not think this board is capable of doing so.
That's a damn shame.
He's right in the fact that, you know, you can do what we know Man City do with Pep and what Liverpool do with Klopp. Is the board are looking at them going, we're going to let you run this team. It's your way or the highway. Anyone that likes it, likes it. Anyone that don't, come to us. We'll sort it out for you. And that's it. That's the hierarchy structure. And that is never broken. Now, that could be at the detriment of results. If you're being able to stick with a manager and things go pear-shaped and you go, no, we're fully behind him. We're going to stick with him no matter what. With Chelsea, the reverse has worked. But with City and with Liverpool, it's been otherwise. So it's in essence, it's a leap of faith. You have to have the trust in the manager. They have it in Pep and they have it in Klopp. Do we have it in Tuchel? Simple as that.
Someone's saying to me, go on, Miz, go on.
I was just going to say, we need to have the same perspective as City has with Pep. I recently saw Vincent Kompany's interview in 5 with 5 with Rio. The way Vincent Kompany was speaking about when Pep came in and how the board looked at Pep, they all knew, each and every single one of the players knew Pep was bigger than the players. Much, much bigger. We need our board to consistently showcase that Thomas Tuchel is the number one.
Yeah.
He's the number one. I don't care which player is getting what amount of salary. I don't care who's got how many Twitter followers and Instagram followers. I do not care. I don't care. Thomas Tuchel is the number one man here. And the board needs to say that to the players. You screw up, you're going to be the one gone, not Thomas Tuchel. And Thomas Tuchel needs to be given a lot of power. This situation,
I think he's earned it as well.
Monstar could be absolutely right. Maybe they talked it out and whatnot, and it's not an issue in the background. It could be absolutely right. But I want Thomas Tuchel to have a one-on-one with Lukaku and sit down and go, mate, next time you have an interview and you want to be open and you want to be honest, maybe be honest with me first, run it past me, and then talk it. And if you don't do it and I catch you, you will be fined and you will not see 5 games next up. And I don't care if your name is Romelu Lukaku.
I genuinely think that conversation has already been had.
This is how you get authority. And this is what I want to see from Chelsea Football Club. I don't want any footballers being bigger than the manager. Not this manager. Not this manager. Please, I beg you guys, honestly, don't screw this up. This guy goes, people are going to be asking for John Terry.
And
John Terry's always got footy.
At this level of sport, it's very finite little movements that can fuck up everything. Like you have one little saga, and the next thing you know, the media are on to Tuchel, and now Tuchel's stressed. And now we've got a bunch of games and injuries, and he started to get really finicky. And then next thing you know,
look at those games.
Bad run, and some of the players fall out.
If we get slapped,
if we get slapped against so quick.
Liverpool, City, Spurs, mate.
Yeah, we've got big games coming up. Like,
but us getting Miz, even if we get slapped against Liverpool, it's not because of this interview. You were going to get
of course not. Of course not.
Yeah, of course it'll be portrayed that way.
Yeah,
it will be portrayed that way. Yes,
exactly. Yeah,
but it's not.
The media Monstar, Matt Law, headline: Lukaku after Lukaku debacle, Liverpool slapped up Chelsea.
The media are so powerful. We try to undermine them, but they are huge. They're huge in social situations. They're huge in society, with the government. They're huge in every walk of life. The media create a narrative, and they are huge. They're huge. They can apply so much pressure on a manager. They can apply pressure on a board. They can do so much.
Bro, they can ruin
and it's so
player.
important on a player. It's so important to work the media to your favor and to your advantage. Liverpool do it very well. They do it very fucking well. And we need to start. I know we love being the team that everybody hates. Everybody's the Chelsea. Everybody hates us. We're against the world. But that mentality, that is what creates instability, and that creates like constant firing and hiring, because we are always in the firing line. We are always the drama club. Man United fans are laughing their ass off because the Burnley game, no one was even talking about. They just went under the radar. They playing. No one even remembers Man United playing today.
I don't think anyone watched them.
The viewing figures are mad low. It's nuts.
They won 3-1.
Ashley says Chelsea have just won the Champions League, and players run down contracts and undermining the coach. City keep all their players happy and don't offer outrageous wages. Ober1 says, how do you know he didn't say this all in private? Of course. And I'm sure, do you know what? I'd be shocked if they didn't. If Lukaku is this transparent in public, I'd be shocked if he wasn't this transparent in private. In fact, he's probably even said even more. So no qualms about that at all. Emmanuel says he talked too much. We just won the Champions League without him. You could say that, but we ain't won a league title since 2017. So there's a little bit of balance to Chelsea's level right now in terms of where they are right now. Bottom left dude is City and wrong. I disagree with you.
Okay.
That's why I brought him on.
Fair enough.
I'm enjoying his perspective a lot, but you're entitled to your opinion. You could
What's the
disagree
point of
about
these sort of
someone
super
being
chats,
silly.
man? Honestly, what's the point of these sort of super chats, man?
Do you know what it is? You see me, I always look at things in the long run. So when I've been talking about certain things, I've always told people, you know what? You won't see it now. Over time, you will see certain things. That's why I'm a patient guy. I'm not someone to just scream now and be like, oh yeah, blah, blah. I like to play the long game, innit? So over time, you guys will see. For this situation, it takes about 2 games. Lukaku will score 1 in this game, and in that game, everyone's back to normal. Do you know what I mean? It's very easy to manipulate fans. Very easy. Do you know what I mean? It's too easy.
Let's talk for the final part of the show. Let's talk about Younes. You've got to go, don't you, bro?
Very shortly. Yeah, I would do.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to wrap this up soon. Yeah, but if you have to go, just signal for me, bro. I'll 100%. It's all good. When it comes to the attacking system and Chelsea compromising their attack for the defense in the midfield and all these different things, I'll start with you, Monstar, because I guess we obviously disagree on this part a bit, but then I think we agree on some parts in terms of when we can change this going forward, because right now I think we both agree that it's maybe too early to change this. And I just personally feel like there isn't time to even work on this next formation with the little time in between the games, the constant chopping and changing of the players, the lack of chemistry built up between the relationships you're trying to form in training. 1 minute you've got a left side that you're working on chemistries and understanding for a left back, left winger. Next minute you've got an injury and you have to switch it out, and then you have to change and work and adapt to people's strengths and weaknesses. People talk about it's like it's FIFA. Oh, if we just change formation, just press the 4-3-3 button and go with that. That will work. But how are you going to develop a style of play and an understanding between players if Reece James is now out for 3 months, but you was working on a chemistry between Reece James and, say, the right winger Hakim Ziyech, and you was trying to get an understanding between those two in training with movements, with off-the-ball patterns, defensively, shape, all this kind of shit. And then Reece James is out, or this guy's got COVID, this guy's in. You cannot rip up a structure just because we're not winning all of our games. Yes, we're dropping a lot of points, but I'm afraid we're not in a current situation to change formation and adapt. And I don't think the team is suited to a change of formation. We talk about who we will improve, and I'm sure Monstar will hopefully give us some names of who will improve if we do change to a more attacking system. But I'm looking at who's going to be shitter. And I'm looking at that midfield with Kante always out, thinking who's going to cover legs-wise in midfield in a midfield 3? Who's going to have Jorginho isolated like he was under Lampard as a lone DM without the athleticism of a Tchouameni or Declan Rice? Who's going to cover in that back 3 for who's going to cover in that back 2 for Alonso at left back where there's no Chilwell? How are we going to lose the advantages of Rudiger bombing into an attacking position as a left side centre back? And we're going to sacrifice that for maybe someone who's not as progressive in that role. There's so much going on in this team that suits quite a lot of the players. It doesn't suit all of them, but do the players that we're trying to make it suit, are they worth it? Are they going to get us more points? Or are we going to concede more goals, score more goals, and finish 4th or 3rd like we have the last few years? So, I mean, Monstar, who do you think's really being stifled right now?
Listen, the attack is being stifled, and it has been so since Tuchel's come in. Not because it's necessarily Tuchel's fault. The reason we are covering, we're sacrificing numbers in attack number 1 to cover for the guys in midfield. A lot of people will say, but we're missing chances. The attackers are not doing good enough when we get chances. If you look at Chelsea play and you look properly, you can go back and watch all the games. Don't even take my word for it. Chelsea don't create enough clear-cut chances. We do create chances in isolation, so we'll create 1 or 2, but we don't create enough. Do you get what I mean? It's to no surprise Cho is struggling. Cho is going to struggle. These are young attackers, so they're going to struggle. Do you get what I mean? And people are screaming, get Cho out. You're making the same mistake. There's a lot of you, Twitter, on YouTube, in the comments, or whoever, you lot love to say, why did we not keep De Bruyne? Why did we not keep Salah? Why did we not keep this young player and that young player? Look at them and look at where they are now. And now you want to make the same mistake with Callum Hudson-Odoi. You're all saying sell him now. And when he goes onto a good team that has a platform for him to build on and be great, you're all going to be like, oh, why did we sell him? You're making that mistake right now. If we're being honest, yeah, this team is catered to bring the best out of our defense and mainly our midfield. The number one culprit, and this is not an agenda, when you're speaking facts, it's not an agenda. Mainly, Mr. Jorginho Fredo. Jorginho needs that cover. Yeah, we've seen he's been here for years. You saw it under Sarri. You saw it under under Lampard. Yeah, we have to cover for him, so we have to sacrifice numbers in attack for him. We can't play well in transition as well because we have to cater to him. It's not every time we play, we have to start again. We have to start again. We can't bomb rush teams or play a certain way because we have to start again for Jorginho. Also, as well, it's no surprise. Our playmakers, the players that are spraying balls left, right, and center, it's our centre backs. It's not even our midfield. I can't keep reiterating this, and I've always told people, you lot are looking at the Champions League, you think, oh, because we won the Champions League, this is good enough to win the Prem, or this is suitable for the Prem. Champions League, the European competition that he won, it's not the Premier League. The physicality, what you need in your midfield is completely different to how you play in those cup competitions. I'm not saying they're not tough, but it's not how the Premier League is. It's no wonder, and this is not a yesterday thing. It's been going on for time. When Jorginho loses the ball, he can't get his man. What does he do? He points to someone to get that player. Every time he does. When we lose the ball in transition, we're fucked. How long has under Tuchel, especially, as our defense bailed us out? How long has Rudiger, brilliant block, Chalobah, brilliant block, Mendy, save after save after save? Tuchel is one of the most tactically flexible managers out there, but he can't be flexible. Have you not thought about it? One of the most tactically flexible managers cannot be flexible in this team. When we're losing it, I'll give you a perfect example. Everton, when we conceded, have you noticed how we couldn't up the tempo and really attack them? We had to start and continue to play the same lethargic, slow pace.
There is a lack of transitions and speed, 100%.
I can't reiterate this. People think this is an agenda. You will learn the hard way. You will learn the hard way. This will continue and will continue and continue until Tuchel gets the backing he needed. He wanted a DM, and I'm not talking about get Jorginho out. I'm talking about give us another option. Tuchel wanted another option in midfield to change that way in case this way we're playing is not working. And he didn't get
not Saul Niguez.
And it wasn't supposed to be Saul. Tuchel wanted, and I'm not blaming, this is not, people, again, don't take this, I'm blaming Jorginho. It's not his fault he's like this. I'm blaming the board for not properly backing Tuchel here. Tuchel wanted a midfielder. Tuchel wanted to prevent this injury problem with the wing-backs. He wanted another wing-backs. This Reece James injury is due to the workload that has been put on him, because we don't have another option that can play at wing-back.
Facts.
Chelsea didn't. We went for Hakimi. It didn't work. Spinazzola was wanted, but he got injured. And Chelsea didn't even bother to look for another option. And this is where we are at today. As I said a million times, you lot can blame it on the attack. Trust me, there's much bigger problems in our attack. And everyone, you will learn the hard way. Don't listen to me. Yeah, it will continue. This is not going to stop. Oh, this is going to continue, bro. Tuchel is taking his team to its ceiling. It ain't going anywhere else. I'm telling you this now. But we'll see in it.
Younes, I want to give you the final word, bro, and obviously make sure everybody goes and subscribes. Younes, obviously, big Younes chasing that 100K. Make sure you guys go and subscribe. There's a lot of you in here. He's going to leave us now as well. He's got to be up early, so we don't want to keep him any later. But I really appreciate Younes as always coming on, bro. Let them know where to find you and any final thoughts, bro.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, no, as all of you know, Younes Talks Football, of course, keeping up to date with what's popping at Chelsea at the moment and all the madness and the fixtures coming up and the games that's going to get crazy, any latest in the football world as a whole. I'll be there. Just on the last point, obviously, because Monstar's made a very good point in terms of the workload, in terms of the injuries that we're getting. It's no surprise that players are getting injured with, what they're having to do. And this is why I'm always saying I sympathize with Tuchel. I hear some people going on to Tuchel's back and going, oh, no, he used to be doing better. He needs to be like, if you were in a situation, you'd be probably doing the same thing. He's working with what he has and the players he has available, and that's completely understandable. And yes, we need some certain players. The depth that we thought was good in this squad clearly isn't. Right. And I think we all agree, and that needs to be addressed. And that probably should have been addressed in certain departments prior. With relation to the attack, I get it completely. I do want to make the point, though, that at Chelsea, especially when you're looking at the chances that we do create, is it enough? Some games, I would say yes. Some games, no. Like there have been games recently, we haven't created more than enough. Brighton, yes, they did more than us in terms of shots on target. So that's one. But there was a game, when was it? Three or 4 games ago? I forgot against
Everton 23 shots.
It was Everton when we had 23 shots, isn't it? It was Everton.
Yeah.
Like, that's you're killing the game normally at that point. So there's ups and downs. There's tops and bottoms. With the attack that we have, understandably in some games, nothing's getting through them. Or it's just not working in terms of being able to use the attack. In some games, it does, and they're not being clinical enough. And that's where you look to some of the players, and it's like that final third, that final decision, that final shot, that final pass. For Man City and for Liverpool, it works like clockwork. And for us, for quite a few years now, it's been a problem. We constantly change the players, and this is one thing about Thomas Tuchel and the fact that whenever we do a preview, we always say who's going to play in that front three.
Yeah,
and we would love to see some consistency. We would love to try and find who's the best three. Stick with it, just like Liverpool do, or just as much as Man City try to. But we always find ourselves changing because players are putting in stinkers. We're like, no, you got to get dropped. All right, play this player. Oh, no, he's putting a stinker. All right, drop him now. Play that player, and it keeps changing. It's a mess. There's no stability and there's no consistency. And part of that does come from who is up there and the fact that they do miss those clear-cut chances when it's put to them. And that needs to change. But yeah, everything else that's been addressed, I fully agree with. And Thomas Tuchel needs to be given time to build what he wants to build. Give him the players he wants and run from there. But yeah, I'll love you and leave you all.
Big up Younes, bro. Appreciate it as always.
Big up Younes.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one. See you later.
Let me go through some super chats. I'll get Miz's take on the attack as well. Glad he has brought how we play up the attack support from Daily. I appreciate that. Obi-Wan says it's our club structure. We empower player over coach. I'm guessing that's to the previous conversation. I mean, Miz, with the attackers, because for me, when I look at our attackers, right, if I'm keeping it completely honest, I see half of them who are young, improving, developing, not in their prime, and missing a bundle of traits. And I'm not talking about system, because we talk about system a lot and formation, but at the end of the day, this is a fluid system. You're not rubber stamped to stay and run one role or one position. You move, you take up different positions, different areas of the pitch. It's very fluid, especially in the modern game. This is not as fixated as maybe Conte's formation when he won the title. This is like a lot more interchangeable. You've got wing backs tucking in. You've got, forward players like Ziyech and Callum who sometimes operate on the touchline, and the wing backs are in. There's so much fluidity that I don't feel like the formation and the system is hampering them as much as we say. Yes, it might not be perfect for them, but there's many players that don't perform under perfect circumstances and they still deliver more than these players. And I'm seeing moments in games where they're not being clinical or decisive in key moments. We talk about that 2v1 situation that just happened, a couple nights ago. That's poor. Like, again, yes,
are we going to blame Tuchel? Are we going to blame Tuchel's system for that miss? For that miss? Are we?
Someone's done a whole comp on Callum, and I'm a massive Callum defender. But the one thing I've said with Callum is his shooting is poor. He needs to improve. There's a whole roster of home games where his finishing needs to improve. Unfortunately for Callum, that is not actually decisive enough for me to tell him that he should never be starting in this team, because Werner can't finish and Pulisic can't stay fit. And Ziyech has been inconsistent, although I think he's been a lot better this season. And maybe he's one of those players that we talk about that could be a lot better.
Have you ever thought, because I should have brought this up. Have you ever thought, why is it well, this problem is not just 1, 2, 3, it's every single attack. Have you ever thought that? And also even Lukaku, who is one of the most clinical players in Europe. Have you ever thought as well, what was the other? I was going to make another really good point. I lost it. Damn.
It'll come.
Miz, your take on it, and maybe it will come back to mine then.
In order to break this down, let's look at Thomas Tuchel's history. He's played in I think his first proper job was Mainz, and he was bringing Mainz from relegation battle to a mid-table team, playing really good football, trying to go toe-to-toe with some of the top Bundesliga teams out there. Then he managed Dortmund, and he played attacking brand of football. He unearthed players like your Aubameyang, your Dembele, Hendrik Mkhitaryan. Then he goes to PSG. PSG didn't play bad football under Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel, we need to understand, this guy is not a defensive coach. He knows how to attack. Let's get that straight. Next point that I want to make is last season in the Champions League. Have a look at our XG. In all of the matches leading up to the final, your Atletico Madrid, your Porto, your Real Madrid, and even in the final, we created a lot. That Real Madrid game should have been 7-8-0. Porto as well, we created a lot. In the second leg, Porto got away with that 1-0 victory. This is a myth that we don't, yes, I have to admit, we don't create wave after wave after wave after wave like Liverpool. But Liverpool only, they've had Klopp, this is Klopp's 6th season.
Yeah, 100%.
Klopp, and have a look at the team Klopp took over to the team he has now.
Yeah.
Well, Miz, that's what we're trying to say. We're saying the board hasn't backed Tuchel. He didn't ask for too much. He only asked for like three to four players, and he never got that. So there's no surprise that our team is going to struggle the way it's struggling if you didn't back your manager properly. So this is where I'm looking at the board now, and I'm like, don't be surprised. Now where we're struggling, because this is a team, by the way, a lot of these players, they're used to struggling in December. You've heard from Conte, heard from Sarri, heard from Lampard. There's certain times in the season they've struggled to motivate some of these players. Tuchel's assistant, one of his assistants, said the same thing. So we're dealing with this issue, and the board should have been proactive, and we should have sorted this issue out. Like I said before, we've gotten the best out of these players possible. We create chances, which you lot are bringing up. Let's look at it properly. Create chances sporadically. So we create a chance here, a chance there, a chance there, into like, and then and it's like 20 minutes between them. Also, there will be 1 or 2 games where we create a lot of chances, but this is not often. Do you get what I mean?
But,
so
I think
what we're asking of our players, although they're not clinical enough, but we are asking of our players to be very clinical. If you look at Lukaku right now, Lukaku's conversion rate is, I believe, in one of the highest percentiles in Europe. For the chance, he shouldn't even be getting them. Like, he's getting so many. This is how he's getting these goals off of literally nothing.
So this is what I'm trying to say to you, Monstar. Are you sort of directing this in the direction of Thomas Tuchel not having the tactical know-how to get the best out? Like that's what I'm trying to understand. What I'm trying to say is that Thomas Tuchel, if you look at even this season, Juventus game, Leicester game, there's enough reference points what he can do. I think what we're trying to understand as a fan base is that Thomas Tuchel is not the guy that is, the issue here. He knows how to play attacking football. He knows how to get the best out of the players. I think it's time, and this is where I think I disagree with you, Monster, because what you're trying to say is that it's not the player's fault. I think there is a lot of
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying everything I'm saying is on the board. I'm not putting this on Thomas Tuchel, and I'm not even putting it on the players, because the players are one-dimensional. The management should have known this, and Tuchel wanted other players to so that he can have flexibility. It's to no surprise our best performing players are the players from Cobham. And the reason why is these Cobham players are used to playing multiple systems over the years in the academy. It's to no surprise, it's some of the older players, the elderly players, who are one-dimensional, that were brought in to suit a certain manager's way of playing.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not working out with them in Tuchel, or we have to change the system to suit that player. This is not on. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming Tuchel at all. I'm saying the board didn't. His hands are tied behind his back. But he wasn't backed properly. That's what I'm saying.
This is the point I keep making. Is I don't believe, and I've had this conversation with Nini as well, because I know he thinks that we can get a lot more from this attacking. Group.
We can.
These attackers don't suit a system. They don't. You talk about limited attackers. You talk about one-dimensional attackers. Ziyech, Werner can run. He's quick, but he can't pass. He can't dribble. He can't shoot. What the fuck do you do with a brother? I'm sorry. I love him. I love his character. I love his mentality. Where do you play a player who can't dribble, can't cross, can't pass, can't shoot? That is nuts. Like that in itself is crazy. That's down to recruitment.
Recruitment again, and the one-dimensional players that I keep mentioning. Some of these players are literally one-dimensional. That's it. The Cobham boys are multifaceted. You could play, bro. Mount is an 8. You want the best out of Mount? Play him in an 8. We can't play him in an 8 because we don't play 8s. We're playing him up front, and still he's outperforming the others.
Exactly.
These guys. I'm telling you now. Listen, I'm telling you now. If Tuchel was given what he wanted and given the players he wanted, trust me, he would have. When things are not working, he would have switched things up. You would have seen us playing much better, and also that would have changed permanently. Like, I'm telling you this right now. This is what Nini said. It's not a lie. Even if you can't get that much out of him, the attackers.
But this is the question now.
A little bit out.
But this is the question. When you get a little bit more, what do you lose from the defense and the midfield? That's my question. And on top of that as well, I can keep going. You know, Pulisic, great dribbler of the ball, can shoot, but not really great at passing, not great awareness, things like not a great crosser. Hudson-Odoi, good crosser, good switches of play, can't shoot. 1v1 has derailed massively from when he broke onto the scene. Ziyech, I've been saying, pretty one-dimensional from before we signed him. Great left peg, great intentions with his creativity, but not reliable enough. Sometimes overhits the pass, not the killer pass master of a Fabregas or of a Juan Mata. Look at Bernardo Silva. He can dribble, he can pass, he can shoot. This is what I'm talking about. And if you want to put together an attacking system together, you need to have players that are multifaceted, that can do many things. Otherwise, you can only use some of the players. And in an environment where we need everyone, we need to use all of the players. I can't say to you, all right, we're going to play in a certain attacking way with 2 wingers and 1 striker. Where does Werner play? Oh, he can't play in that. All right, so then we can't use Werner at all. So then what do we...
You're right. In order to get the best out of the attackers, we're going to have... Well, it's defense. We're going to lose something in defense, obviously, innit? That's why Tuchel didn't want one player. He wanted a defender as well. He wanted a DM. He wanted those 2 positions specifically, along with another wing back. He wanted those 3 positions. If he had got that, we would be in a better position that we are in right now. But he didn't get that. We're stuck with Saul. That's who we got. Saul Niguez. Where is Saul? And we're stuck with Alonso and Azpilicueta. And we had to bring in, or we couldn't even get rid of Ross Barkley. He's here. Ruben, if we're being 100% honest, Ruben's not supposed to be here. Tuchel didn't want Ruben. Ruben was forced to be here because we couldn't get him off the books on loan. We have to be honest here. We have to be absolutely honest. Tuchel was not backed properly in the summer. This is, again, I'll say it a million times. It's not Tuchel. I'm not blaming Tuchel. I'm blaming Chelsea's board. What we do is every time we win something, we get complacent. The way the board would look at it is, you won the Champions League. Oh, you know what? This team's good enough. You can go on to win something with that. They did it with Mourinho. They did it with Conte. They are doing it now with Tuchel. They're setting him up to fail because their expectations will be so much higher. They will expect a league title out of it. And let's be honest, is this team good enough to win a league title? Is it good enough? It's not.
No.
It has never been good. It's not. It's not been good enough for a hot minute. So unless we properly back him, this is the best manager we've had since probably Ancelotti and a young, charismatic Jose Mourinho. If we don't back him properly, ladies and gentlemen, start preparing yourself. This board and these players will get Thomas Tuchel sacked. I'm telling you this right now. It's a hard truth. It's a very hard truth to accept. But if you know Chelsea and you've been watching them for years, especially since Roman's come in, you will know what I'm talking about. It's not a joke. I'm actually being serious. Yeah, you need to start preparing yourself. Simple as that.
Yeah, Miz, I want to give you final thoughts as well as we outro for you as well. Let us know what your final thoughts are and let them know where to find you. I'm gonna go through super chats and after Miz's outro, guys, as well. So don't worry about that. I'm going through your super chats.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on the other side of the coin. I think I might have just hit 9,000 as well over the last couple of days. So I need to check that. So really, really thank you, each and every one of you guys, for all the support. My final thoughts will be, guys, just wherever you're supporting, whether it be in the stadium, whether it be in social media, people do look at these things. You know, club officials do see the vibe in the stadium and whatnot in social media. Just make sure you back this gaffer. We need to understand, this is not a coincidence that Liverpool with Klopp are doing well because they've given time and he's a top-notch manager. Pep was always a top-notch manager, but once again, given time, and now he's creating a dynasty with Man City. They're running away with it. We have a particular manager right now. We can build something big. We just need to stay patient, and we don't need to get too sentimental with some of the players. And this is why I always say, put Chelsea in front. Forget about your favorite players. Forget about this and the other. Have Chelsea first. If your favorite player, my favorite player, you will all laugh at me, some of you guys might know, is Hakim Ziyech. But I couldn't care less if he left. I would still follow him wherever he goes. I'll still hope for the best for him. I'm emotionally attached to him, but I don't care. I see some of you guys so attached to, let's say, Christian Pulisic or Mason Mount or Callum Hudson-Odoi or Kai Havertz. Have your first feelings towards the club. Have your first feelings towards the club. And that's all I'm going to say. Remember to back Thomas Tuchel. If a particular player doesn't fit, let's get rid. Let's get Thomas Tuchel who fits. Because I believe in Tuchel. I rather believe in Tuchel. He's the man with the brains here. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Guys, make sure you subscribe. Other side of the coin. Let's get him to 10K. There's loads of views. 1.7 of you in here. 1.7K. Big up, bro. Much appreciated as always. We're going to wrap up the show soon. I just want to get through some super chats.
Right. See you later, guys.
And in a bit, bro. Appreciate it.
Big up, man.
Monstar, Ibsy was asking, does this mean Lukaku was a board signing after all this, like, not really knowing how to fit him in under Tuchel, which is an interesting one.
I don't. Yes, it's possible it was a board signing, but Tuchel would have signed off on it. So, because if that's how you want to put it, yeah, is it a board signing? Probably the board would have come like, you know what, we could get Lukaku. Do you want him? Because I believe Chelsea wanted Lukaku even before Tuchel came in under Lampard. So, is it possibly was it possibly a board signing? It is possible that it was a board signing, but Tuchel definitely signed off on it and was happy with the purchase of Lukaku.
Do you think the way forward now is to maybe involve the manager more in the recruitment and less so this whole like committee of people he has to say sign off to? And what I mean by that is let him not do the scouting. Of course, he's going to have scouts and he's going to have a recruitment team, but let him be involved in the whole selection process and not just signing off and not just ticking him off. Because I feel like with Pep and Klopp, they don't tend to bring in club signings. It doesn't feel like that anyway. It feels like players that are for their system, made for them, tailored for them. At least have the recruitment team match up to Tuchel's ideology, philosophy, whatever, and not just, this is a list of club targets. We like these players from our scouts that have been working with other managers and other philosophies and ideas. And do you like this list? Like that's how it feels right now. Obviously, we don't know the ins and outs of it, but that's just how it comes across.
It's a bit weird with Pep, because before Man City brought in Pep, they brought in his guys that he used to work with at Barcelona. So they literally did everything. They brought in, I can't remember what the guy's name, I think it's Tiki, whatever his name is, or I don't know how to pronounce his name. They brought in everyone for Pep. So with Tuchel, he's having to deal with, a lot of our board, they're not footballing people, are they? For being real. They're not. So I'm not really we know how our board is, isn't it? Like, I'm really, let me not lie to you, scared for the life of me that Tuchel, is in danger. Not because he's a bad coach or anything, he's an excellent coach. But it's more of the board at some point will sabotage him. I really do think so. And I think it's showing right now. Like, it's just, I know people say I'm being negative, or I'm this and that, and we're gonna 100% back Tuchel and this and that. I don't think you understand who your board is, bro. I don't think you understand.
I think people forget this. Tuchel has not even done a full year at Chelsea. He's not done one season, and he's not done a full year. In that time, he's won 2 trophies. He's got us in a final. He's got us playing in a cup that we've only been in once before, and hopefully we win that. And he's still got us in all competitions, challenging on all fronts, even though the Premier League is pretty much not really going to happen for us. But we're still at least even much better points difference to Lampard. I saw the post you did about the points difference to last season. It is staggering, the points difference. Staggering, like ridiculous. It's madness, people. Only 2 defeats this season in the league. For all of this madness, we've still been, we've been dropping points, but we haven't been losing games. There's been no capitulations. There's been no spankings yet. All that kind of stuff, which could come. That could come against Liverpool or City. So be prepared mentally for that. But there could be some spankings, but it has yet to happen. For everything that we've been going through, we're in a much better position with very little investment. And I'm talking about in terms of numbers, not really money, because obviously 100 million, but it was basically a net spend of plus in the green. Very little squad movement from Tuchel to bring in players. Lukaku is his only signing. I'm not really counting Saul. It's a lot of progress in a very short space of time, with very little players coming in the door and very little players going out. Wendell says, so Lukaku prefers a 3-5-2 with a player like Martinez. It didn't seem to work with him and Timo.
Timo's just not that guy. Like, just not that. If you want to get the best out of Timo, you have to be playing balls over the top to him. But the problem is as well in the Premier League, the Premier League's like, we don't have high lines like that. So no matter what, we were never going to get the best out of Timo Werner in the Premier League. He's not suited for it. He needs to go back to Germany personally, where he can get the best out.
There was a super chat earlier that I'm sorry I missed it. Forgot to read it out because it's just the chat's moving really quickly. What's your thoughts on Christensen? Because some people are going to call him a snake. I personally, I don't know where I stand on it from his perspective, because his agent is his dad, and that is never good. We saw that with Callum Hudson-Odoi. When family gets involved, things get very sticky. And that's the guy that, helped you arrive on this planet. So it is difficult to want your dreams of playing for the club and whatnot coincide with your dad, who's telling you one thing and saying, I'm going to handle this. This is how much money you deserve. We're going to run this our way. You deserve more respect, etc., etc. He seems to be going to Barcelona. I mean, what's your take on it? Are you bothered really much by his exit or what?
I believe he fired his dad, or he's got a new agent. As soon as I saw he got a new agent, the first thought to me is, why are you getting a new agent? It's because you're maybe looking for a new move. It's the first thing I thought to myself. Do I blame him for looking for a move? No, because it's the same thing with Rudiger. If other teams are offering you more than what Chelsea are offering you, do what's best for you. I would have loved to have kept them, but I look at it from their perspective. They're human beings. So let them, they can get what's best for them. I would never, listen, the one thing I can't do is be a hypocrite. If I was in this, let me just speak about Rudiger. If I was in Rudiger's position, Real Madrid are offering me a package that is around 400k a week, and Real Madrid is on the brink. Real Madrid are a bigger and greater club than us. Let's be honest with ourselves. Yeah. Real Madrid are on the brink of greatness. They're about to sign Mbappe. It's looking like they'll get Haaland. Pogba. And then they bring in Rudiger along with what they've got. They got Camavinga last season. You look at that. Plus, they're offering you 400k a week. Bro, are you not going to take that?
I'm gone.
You'll be lying to yourself. You say, no, I'm not taking that. You'll be lying. Do you know what I mean? And with Christensen, people think Barcelona are in the mud right now. You're right. They are in the mud right now. But I've seen them in the mud in the past. This is not the first time. Barcelona have had this issue they're suffering from now. They had this years back, and they came out of it. How are they getting the money that they're using to sign Ferran Torres and all these players? Trust me, these teams, they will always find the money. So Christensen wanted to go there. Don't blame him doing that either. I think where Chelsea have to look at is if you can't renew, Rudiger's gone. Let's consider that. Rudiger's gone. Gone. If you can't renew Christensen, take that as a blessing in disguise. Move on. Start to rebuild again. Let's start to rebuild again and build a proper team and Tuchel's liking. They're not the only ones. There's players coming towards the ends of their contracts. Move them. Don't stop the renewals.
Stop this, yes, please.
Stop the renewals.
Yeah.
Let them go.
Yeah.
Also, we've got so many loanees out there. They're coming 2023. They're all coming to an end.
Yeah.
No more renewals, please.
Yeah.
No more 1 year contract and a loan. No. Let their contracts end. Stop penny pinching. You are not getting money for these players. No one wants
shit
them.
like this. We rejected a 50-60 million pound deal from Dortmund for Batshuayi. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one wants these players anymore. No one wants them. Let them go. You couldn't even get a loan for Barkley this season. You wanted to loan out Ruben. You couldn't get a loan for him. You tried to get rid of Alonso. You offered Alonso plus money for Hakimi. Inter rejects that. You offered Alonso plus money for Lukaku. It's time to cut your losses. Let them go. Please, for the sake of this team. Otherwise, what people don't realize is these players are coming back from their loans. Yeah, you can't loan them out again. They're taking up positions of players we need to be getting in. This is what's happening.
Or they're taking up positions for a Harvey Vale instead of a Barkley, and then his contract runs out, and then Harvey Vale doesn't want to renew, and he leaves for a free.
We've got an issue coming up next season. The number of loans of over 23 players are going to reduce. I think it's going to be 7.
I think that's a good thing for us, isn't it?
So we've got a lot of dross coming back our way, a huge wave of players, coming back, that are going to be taking up positions of players we need to be bringing in if we can't get rid of them.
It's a waste of time, bro, because every single deal is a negotiation with another CEO or another board of director or something. It's emails or Zoom calls or whatever. It takes time to get responses. If you're trying to get rid of a player, sometimes that club needs to sell someone to make room, or if you, etc. These things just take time. I think sometimes we think this is FIFA. We can just quick sale, you go and whatever. There always is a process. It takes time to do deals, little clauses, agent fees, wages, all this stuff. Every time we bring back these foolish players that have no value to the club, it's 4-5 deals. Time wasted, not even squad space, just time wasted, energy wasted on getting them out on loan or trying to sell them. It's just a way every time at the start of every summer. It's a waste of time every time, and that's why we don't get deals done early and keep it moving.
This is why Tuchel even expressed it. He said remember in the summer when he said, "Bro, like it came to pre-season, we had like 40-50 players." Remember when Tuchel said that? He said he never experienced that in his life, and this is taking time away from him. Developing the players that need to be developed. Yeah. But having to bring it, he's having to use Bakayoko on. Remember, we use Bakayoko. He's having to use Drinkwater.
I've seen it 3 years in a row, bro. It kills me every year.
Why? It's time for Chelsea to start sharpening up and just getting all of them. Just like get them out. Use your time. Get these men out of this club. Get these men out. They shouldn't be here. They're not Chelsea's level. They shouldn't be. I hear people criticizing Cobham all the time, Cobham players all the time. Look at these waste men that are in our team. Sorry, I know that sounds harsh, but look at these men,
bro. And they're on 100k. Some of them. It's nuts. You know how much money could have been saved?
Christ.
It's nuts.
What were Chelsea thinking?
Drinkwater, Baba Rahman, all these guys on 100K. It's nuts. It's unnecessary. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of everybody's time. I hate these preseason games at the start where we play these guys for Tuchel to even have to interact. It's literally pointless. It's pointless every single year. This super chat says, what is your take on Chelsea's mentality right now? I do think this point is overstated. I feel like because we have been used to poor mentality from Chelsea over the years, we always harp on about mentality, and we always use this as the crutch to keep saying that Chelsea's mentality is questionable. I don't see Chelsea stop trying in games. They're still trying. They're just not good enough. Like, whether it's injuries or players missing or not having the cutting edge. We talk about traits and characteristics that certain players are missing, the fine comb to get through that defense, that final ball, that final shot. I don't think they've stopped trying. I don't think it's a mentality issue. I think they want to win. They showed that in the Champions League. They showed that in the final. You don't win that final if you have mentality issues. A lot of these players have developed and grown. Christensen, Rudiger. I'm not taking that credit back. I'm really not. They have won the most difficult competition in the world to win, that our club struggled to win with the best of the best for a decade under Roman. It's not easy, but or just under a decade. But it's not easy, but I don't think it's a mentality issue, but it is a quality issue. It's a quality control issue. And we're starting to see the depth of this squad get tested, and it's not there. It's just in terms of quality. The numbers are there. I counted it up. Chelsea have 24 senior players. Not Cobham, like obviously the Cobham, Mason Mount, Reece James, but no Harvey Vales, no spoons up bell, knife and fork, none of that. I'm talking about senior men that have been around the block in world football or at Chelsea for a multitude of years. That's a 24-man squad. We have depth, but we don't have quality depth. That's the issue. And we don't have depth that seamlessly comes in. You know how Man City have players that seamlessly come into their system, seamlessly play the same style of football? We don't have that. We have players that come into our team and they play a different type of football. They can't play one touch. They can't do this. They can't do that. Again, Marcos Alonso, Saul, all these different players that come in and replace the players that we have and make us change our style, make us change the way that we play football. That's the issue. And that's come from poor squad planning, poor recruitment, and it needs to stop. It needs to change. F that super chat. I'm guessing that was from the one ages ago. Big up Monstar. Tony Tone says, why do people think we need one midfielder? We need two. Tchouaméni and Rice would be perfect. We do, but listen, right now at the moment, knowing the board, listen, I'll take. We're not going to get two, are we? So I'll just take one for now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You're right. Get one. Right. Yeah. Right. We need to, you know what we need to do as well? This might hurt a lot of people and they don't want to hear it. We need to start planning for, we need to start planning for the departures of Jorginho and Kante. I'm not saying sell them now, but we need to actually start, and we should have been doing this years ago, especially Kante, because Kante is so injury prone. He can't play more than 2 games or 3 games. Like I actually feel so bad for Kante because he's being played on one leg. Like we need to start planning for the departures. We need to remember City brought in Rodri early, got him adjusted, and then he took over Fernandinho. Now that Fernandinho hasn't got the legs, Chelsea should have been doing that, didn't it? Cancelo, same thing. Chelsea people were questioning these players. Yeah, exactly. People were questioning them. So this is why I talk about patience when it comes to young and good players. Patience. We need to be planning for the departures of these guys, and the quicker we start doing that, the better. I don't know what more to tell you. I always tell people always rebuttal my points or whatever. I will say, you know what? It's cool. You will learn the hard way. Over time, you'll see what I'm saying. So if you want to believe what I'm saying, don't believe what I'm saying. Over time, you'll see. It's just you will see it. Look at Konate, Liverpool eased in first season. Look at Rodri eased in, Cancelo, Fabinho eased in. Like Chelsea, when we sign players, we need them now because we haven't done. It's a conveyor belt of bullshit. The team's not good enough, so we need players to come in right now and fix it. And then they're not ready because they're acclimatizing, and then they start poorly, and then it just keeps going and going and going. Really, we should have had ready-made good starting 11 when we were in our peak after the title win under Conte. You bring in some players to regurgitate that, keep it going, ease them in, keep looking after and keep reviving slowly One player goes 30 plus, next one comes in. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. But we rest on our laurels after title wins. We let everybody finish together. Fabregas, Costa, Matic, everybody finishes. David Luiz, everybody's dead at the same time. And then now we're looking for everything, and now we're all confused again. And it's constant cycles. I'm just going through these super chats, and then we're going to wrap up, people. I appreciate the support so much as always. It's been a really, really good stream. Emmanuel says club need to stop just buying players. Conte said to Tottenham, I will only come if I can sign the players I want. Look at City. Players know their role. Yeah. Really, really spot on. We spoke about that earlier. Big up to Monstar. I think Tuchel may have to change because we don't even have any wing backs anymore. But let's just trust Tuchel. We don't have shit. I'm not going to lie to you. We don't have wing backs, full backs, nothing.
If you think these guys are bad at wing back, what do you think is going to happen when they're playing full backs? Like,
with no cover from the right side and left side centre back.
And no cover in midfield.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be like, well, listen, we got tough times ahead. We got this is why I wanted players like Kante. I remember I was listening to Matt Law on the London is Blue podcast, and he said Chelsea will only address the midfield if Kante remains injured. And I saw Kante's fit. I was like, no. I said, no, I needed him injured because the only way this Chelsea board will react is if it's dire. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I needed the situation to be dire for these guys to finally react. Fortunately, what will happen? The board will say, oh, he's fit right now. The midfield's cool. And then after the January window, a couple of weeks later, he's injured again and we're fucked. Do you know what I mean?
Here in Italy, your prime is in your mid-30s. You took Lukaku's words out of context. The chances created for him all season is the amount Salah gets in one game, so he has reason to be frustrated. I agree that chances have not come his way very, very well this season at all. And he's been overperforming on his XG quite a lot, especially before the cases as well. My point is not that he's wrong in terms of just everything, in terms of him getting the best out of him, chances, all that kind of. My point is that it should not be public. That's my point. I don't think this needs to be public. It doesn't happen at Man City, and if it does, the brother usually ends up getting sold because the ecosystem is more important. The drama that it brings, the media, the questions tomorrow in the press conference, you already know at 9 a.m. what they're going to be asking, etc., etc. It just creates unnecessary publicity. It's more that he did the interview and he didn't navigate it in a calculated, streetwise manner more than what he actually said in the interview. Now that I'm speaking to Monstar, now that I'm looking back on it calmly after a few hours, it's not really the words. The Inter Milan thing still annoys me a little bit because I just don't feel like headspace-wise you should be thinking about your next move. I don't like that. I don't like that from anyone, and I keep that consistent. Some people don't care. I don't like that. I've said that about shit players, great players. If you're at Chelsea, I want you thinking about Chelsea. Especially if you haven't achieved anything at Chelsea, especially if we've shelled out big money on you and we need you to work. That's just me. Some people are going to differ on that. I said the same with Hazard. I really did. I really did. Go back and rewatch Bayern versus PSG game on chances PSG missed, and you will understand why we are missing so many chances right now. People need to understand that half this squad has been here since 16-17. This board needs to back this manager. The thing is, to be ruthless and to clear out a squad and cleanse it, I think cleanse is the right word, that takes big investment and big turnover. And Chelsea don't do that anymore. They look for their green net profit spends, and do you know what I mean? They look to be cute and calculated. And I'm afraid the only way to really do it is what Roman did when he first arrived, which is to really just go nuts. And
I agree with that, but there is certain places where we can go, like, I think certain players in attack, like you said, like Werner. Me personally, I just feel Werner's got a market. There's teams that want him in Germany. You sell him, you can sell him for a good amount of money, and you don't have to replace him with anyone. There's a guy called Broha who's on loan. You could easily replace Werner with Broha, and that will cost you nothing. Yeah. And all you got to do is spend that money in another position. But Chelsea wouldn't think like that. Do you know what I mean? Chelsea won't think like that. Chelsea will sell Werner and bring in another big money sign. Like, sometimes you got to think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. There is a market for him, and the reason why I put him and Ziyech as at the forefront is because I think because they're experienced, we're looking for players. If we're still believing in the potential of Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi, which I personally still think they have potential, they're still young. I want to give them, because you mentioned it on the space, Kevin De Bruyne, Salah. Not even saying these guys are going to reach that level, but we've done this so often where we judge young players so harshly and so quickly when they're gonna have inconsistencies and deficiencies in their game. We don't allow them to develop and coach them. And Pulisic is a bit different because of his injury issues, and that does need to be corrected or he'll never reach his peak. But I always tend to go for the experienced players first. If you're in your prime and you're not putting in prime Chelsea performances at the top level to be having us compete for the league, I have to ask questions of you first. Unfortunately, it's just the way my brain works. Because you're not developing, you are what you are. You're not going to get better. So what level are you at? Are you good enough? No. Okay, then there's a big conversation. And when you look at Werner and Ziyech, I think there will be a market for both of them. It's probably easy to get your money back as well. And then you go out there and get Tuchel's attackers. And then if Tuchel has his front three, Lukaku and 2 wide players in maybe a change formation, and it still don't work, then we have to really question, okay, Tuchel, what are you doing? But with some other man's attackers, I can only say so much. I really can. TC says this team is so limited. It has been limited since Tuchel's tactical freedom, which can be reflected in his recent performances. Tuchel needs to be backed. And we spoke about it. PSG played a back 4. Marquinhos was DM. Dortmund, he played 2 different systems as well. Had a back 3, had a back 4. He's got versatility in his game. If this was Sarri, different conversation. If this was someone rigid, who don't switch formation, you remember that time, Monstar, innit?
Oh, of course.
Barkley and Cover, 60 minutes.
I like Sarri, but it was the I always like defending when people are going at him. But it was the, it was right for the club and Sarri to part ways. Personally, I would not tolerate just disrespect, the way people disrespect him. But yeah, it was right, and he was a stubborn, rigid manager. Tuchel is very flexible.
100%. Suba, I'm scared that Tuchel will quit on use him, and because of how we are treating him, and we've only lost 2 games so far and 6 draws. That's made big up Monstar once again. That ratio, 6 draws and 2 defeats, it's not bad.
It's not really horrible. I always say if it was any other manager or most of the other managers, I don't know, they probably would have got so many losses. We would have lost so many games, and they would have been sacked. I know.
Yeah. And that's damage limitation. What's going on right now for Chelsea? It really is. And I think a lot of people don't see it like that. They see, how can we get more? How can we get more? How can we get more? I should have turned on slow mode. I'm just looking at this now. But I think this is being damage limitation. Deadly December could have been a lot worse. And I think people sometimes obviously want to win the game. We forget Wolves away, West Ham away. These are not easy games. This is games that Liverpool and City have struggled with their first 11s, let alone with what the hell we've put out against those teams. Burnley, Everton, yeah, that's where I'll throw the book a bit more. It's true, fans want loyalty from players, but if man gets a big injury and can't perform anymore, they'll be saying, get this overpaid bum off our wages. And you're spot on. You're spot on. You are spot on. You are 100% spot on. And that's what it comes down to with these contracts. And I wanted Christensen to stay more, and I thought Christensen's loyalty would be more because he came through the system. We went through the ups and downs. We backed him, sent him out on loan, looked after him, improved him. I thought there would be more loyalty points in the bag there. Rudiger, I was like, listen, if he goes, he goes. Like, we cannot complain as a fan base, especially the way it went last season in January. Like, there is no complaints whatsoever. Christensen, I was hoping and praying, and I expected him to stay. But if he doesn't, listen, time waits for no man. If we can get over Eden Hazard leaving with that little interview at the end of the Europa League final, I'm sorry, then we can get through anything. And we're going to wrap up now. I've finally caught up. If TT got sacked, our fan base would actually lose it. Bro, I don't know about you, Monstar. If he got sacked, I will be moving mad. Like, I will be so... Bro, I can't even describe how angry I'll be. I can't.
I wouldn't, like, I'll be mad. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't necessarily move crazy because I'm not surprised. I'm just not surprised. I wasn't... Normally, when we draw, I saw everyone moving mad with the Brighton game. I was like, bro, I've been telling you, look, I've been telling people for weeks and weeks and weeks, doing the spaces, telling people things are not going to change. This is going to keep happening. People didn't want to listen. People thought it was going to change. And that's why I wasn't surprised with the Brighton result. Like, nowadays, I watch the games with relaxed. No matter how bad it is, I relax because I prepared myself for this. Do you know what I mean? And I keep telling people, prepare yourself. It's not going to get any easier. Prepare yourself right now. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, listen, appreciate all the support. You guys have flooded in your masses tonight. 1.8, I think, or 1.7 at one time. Big up for the support as always, man. Big up to everyone that's been joining us. Younes, Miz, especially Monstar, special guest on the All You Can Eat show as well, which has been brilliant. And like I said, people, I crave debate. I crave alter opinions. I could have come on here and I would not have had the perspective from Monstar. I would have had my own perspective, which is a little bit more harsh. And I wanted that extra perspective. I want you guys to have it. You guys deserve that extra perspective. You're on this channel. Yes, I speak, but I like to have other people on that disagree with me, especially because you guys need to see the other perspectives. And I always say to you, make your own minds up and then leave it in the comments and then we'll discuss. So big up to Monstar. Go and subscribe to him. The link is in the description. He was the special guest. Do you know what I'm saying? I hope you guys have enjoyed that. Little surprise for you there. I didn't announce it because I was like, listen, you ain't expecting it, so you can get it that way. And big up to the chat. Thank you so much. If I missed any super chat, I really apologize. I tried to get all of them and star them and whatnot. But naturally, I'm guessing I'm probably going to miss one or two because the chat's popping off. But big up to all you guys. Subscribe, smash up the icons, leave a comment. More content coming tomorrow. Press conference at 9. I'm going to be listening in. And then we're going to talk again in a bit, people. Peace. Subscribe to Monstar. Subscribe to Miz. Subscribe to Younes. Links in the description. Go and subscribe. Please go and get it done. Monstar, any final thoughts, bro?
I feel like there's a big loss coming our way. I don't know whether it's Liverpool City, but I don't know when. But I do feel like there's a big one coming.
Fam, a beat down. I can smell it, innit? So just know that we did warn you. Man City or Liverpool. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I hope it doesn't. Obviously, we want W's only. But the way we're moving with no Reece, no Chip, like it's there, innit? It's a possibility. But we'll deal with that when the time comes. In a bit, people. Peace.
Pick up.